Merja Paksuniemi, pardon for the pronunciation, from Finland, which is going to talk about the roots of Finnish teacher education for women. So women get
So, good afternoon everyone. I'm Merja Paksuniemi and I come from the Arctic Circle, Rovaniemi, and I'm representing the University of Lapland, where I am a lecturer in history. And actually my research fields are school history and history of education. So as you see, I come really north up. So this weather that you are having over here is a really nice sun for me. I can imagine that. Okay. And main focus of my research is how the Finnish women teachers were educated in theatre training college from 1920s to 1930s. And what kind of research data I used. First of all, archival sources were the main ones, and these were located in the provincial archival Oulu, which is about 300 kilometers from Rovaniemi down south. I also used textbooks, and those I ordered from the really old museums. Some of the textbooks were published during 1910s or 1920, and I was allowed to read those with cotton gloves on and under supervisor. And what else I used were other studies of different teacher training colleges, even though none of them were about this teacher training college that I'm telling you about. And the main research questions were: what were the requirements for a teacher, and what kind of trends were affecting teaching, and how did the societal situation influence the teaching and the educating the teachers. And actually, when I was listening to Mateja's presentation, I found many similarities to Slovenia and Finland, which is really nice to notice. Even though we are high up north and you are down south here, we still have something common. About the historical background of the school system, Finland got its independence in 1917, and for the first time the school system was planned for the Queens. Even though in 1918 we had the Civil War, we had the Reds who wanted to be under the Soviet Union, and we had the Whites who wanted Finland to be independent, and they fought together, and the White ones won. And this meant that now was the time to build the school system for the Finns for the first time. And in 1921, the law of compulsory education made possible for almost every child to go to school. And this meant that there was a lack of teachers, and the society which was built for the Finnish system highlighted nationalism, Christianity and morality. And these three aspects influenced to the teacher training and the school system as well. The teacher training college of Tornio was the first teacher training college in Lapland, and it was for women. It was founded in 1921, and it was functioning until 1970, when we got into the university system. And here's the map where the Tornio is located, up here north, right next to the Swedish border. And as you see, the other three colleges for women were in South Finland. And there was one college in Haparanda, Sweden, next to the border, but it was for the Swedish-speaking women only. So it was really important to have a college in Lapland that trained Finnish people to the Lapland people to educate the ones that live there. First, the college started to function in houses. They rented rooms where the teachers taught the students, but in 1931 the college building was done, and at the same time they built another school that children were in. It was called a training school, because during the study years these students went to practice in a training school. Some of the results. First of all, the requirements for the teacher as a woman were really strict. They need to have a suitable character. They need to behave well. They have to speak proper Finnish, no dialect. And they had to have skills for teacher's job. They had to sing really beautifully. They had to know how to play harmonium. They had to know how to do sports. And of course all the knowledge of maths and so on, all these skills were tested in the entrance tests. And the skill for teacher's job were really strict, and to be a teacher was the other occupation for women that time. The first one was a nurse, and the second one was a teacher, and they really wanted to go to that place to study. In 1921, when the college was started, 98 applicants were sent to the college. And in 1928, the amount was higher, 227. And only 30 persons got in. So you can imagine how many got dropped out. And here's a photo of the students and the teachers in the 1930s. As you can see how well the ladies are dressed up. This was the formal dressing up, how they have to wear during their college years. Now if you compare nowadays students at the college, like at the Faculty of Education in Lapland, the men are wearing caps, they are wearing jeans, but when they go to the practicing school or the training school, they have to put their clothes on like the teacher is. So I think this is something that we have from the history, is still affecting today. And even though they got into the school, there was a half a year that they were trainees. They had to study really hard, got really good points. They had to behave outside of the school building, and if they didn't, they got dropped out of the school. So half a year was kind of like a trainee period. So what was the pedagogical background? I'm sure you all know about Mr. Herbart, German pedagogy, and Schiller. And this educational system settled in Finland in 1910s. Mostly through the textbooks that Mr. Augusti Salo and Mikali Soininen did. And these textbooks were the ones that these students studied in the teacher training colleges. And this educational system underlined teachers' role as a model, really strict and well-behaving, and minute-by-minute schedule. Besides this one, reform pedagogy was also a method, and this was more polite. It took the children more consideration. The material should be brought into the classroom. If the children should study science, they would go outside. So these two were affecting the teaching and how to teach children in schools. And what were the subjects in the college? Of course, Finnish language, religion, mathematics, science, playing the harmonium, singing and choir leading, handicrafts, gymnastics, games and sports. Now all these did prepare these women to be teachers, but also how to be a good teacher, wife, and a mother. For instance, during the handicrafts lessons, they studied how to make a fish net. Really handy. Fish, you know how to fish, yes? And they had to know how to make clothes for children, how to make clothes for themselves, and about the nationality and the religiousness that was in the teaching. It came out in songs, in the books, even though it was not a religious book or something else, but it was in there, and I will show you one example. Well, this is a picture of the students during 1930s, and as you can see, some of them are wearing the national costume. Now it's really hard, it takes many hours, but this was one of the things that these ladies had to do when they were studying, to do their own their national costume. And you see the dolls in their laps. Well, that was preparing to be a mother, so they could make toys for their children. And here I have an example. This was from the science book by Mr. Sala. These are the instructions how to teach pupils the meaning of the national flag of Finland, and what situations and how to behave. The men will take their caps off, what to sing, and so on. So these themes really come through from different subjects. And the practical training at the training school was really important part of these study years, even though it lasted for 2 or 3 weeks. For 1 week they observed the class teacher, how she did, and then they started to do their own planning. And when they planned the lessons, they had to have a minute-by-minute schedule, and they even had to write down what they thought that the children would say back to them. So it was really a strict plan that they executed during their training. As you can see from the other presentations also, our desks are really similar than all over in Europe. And the position that the children are sitting, that was the position that they were allowed to sit during the lessons. Okay. The school days were really long. They had a lunchtime, good behavior. During that also, they sang a hymn, took a prayer. The studying lasted 2 years, and it gave qualification to teach children aged 7 to 9, so first and second graders. And after graduation, these young women usually got their job from the countryside, from a 2-teacher school, where these were teaching the younger kids, and the male teacher taught the older ones. But this all had a wider meaning. It was also educate teachers from the northern part of Finland. It was really important. It guaranteed a high respected occupation for these women. They taught them skills which they needed at their job, and taught them skills which they would teach to their pupils, but also civilize, unite, and educate the Finnish people that the history didn't repeat itself. This I mean by the Civil War. And here are some of the resources that I used for this presentation, article sources. And yeah, that's it. If you have